everything is a story through their gadgets. So in the classroom, the teacher needs to present it not in silos separately, but as everything as interconnected, as a narrative, as a story.
Children absolutely need the mirrored expression. Oh, you're upset. Oh, you're happy. Yeah, it's so crucial for the normal development.
They're a values-driven generation.
When we communicate online, it becomes very A-B exchange, isn't it? So you don't interrupt. You don't, it really does affect how you take turns, how you communicate.
We need to educate our students on ethics of AI and modern technologies.
Welcome back. Hi, Erica. Hi, Olga. We had a really great first episode where we were kind of really defining what are the characteristics of Generation Alpha, what their strengths and some of their challenges are. So now we're going to kind of look in a bit more detail at the kind of the social side of this, the way that they connect with each other, that collaborative side, that social side of this generation. And so I want to start off with a kind of big question. Is there a difference in the way that Generation Alpha students, children, socialise and behave with others?
They prefer socialising online, for example.
Right.
And that obviously, there are the cons with that too. Being in the comfort of your own home and playing games, online games, and socializing online is fine. But then when they're offline, as we mentioned before in the first episode, then they tend to have weaker offline social skills. Because being online, you're not going to see the body language. You're not going to see the facial expressions. You're not going to see, learn social cues, what's inappropriate and what's appropriate. So when they get offline, then the anxiety starts. So when they're together, socializing, as Olga said in the first episode, they tend to be virtually social but not socialized. So they could be in one circle, sitting together, they're all on their mobiles, being social through their mobiles, but not socializing amongst themselves. And we get that a lot with Generation Alpha.
How interesting. So I get that thing about body language, reading faces and things like that. Yes,
that's so important for communication.
Yes.
You know, and even reading social cues, body language.
Body language, intonation, your facial, your micro expression.
Even, for example, when people are messaging through WhatsApp, you wouldn't know what tone of voice the other person is speaking. Is it an angry tone of voice? Is it? So all this goes missing through the digital communication.
Because some of those things are communicated through different ways when you're on social media.
Through emojis and...
Well, I'm going to put on my TEFL hat on, the teaching hat. In terms of communication, when you think about how we message each other, Generation Alpha, actually, that they're not that keen on texting. They're more, younger people are more keen on audio exchange, short video exchange and stuff. Yeah. But still, when we communicate online, it becomes very A-B exchange, isn't it? So you don't interrupt, you don't,
That's
it really does affect how you take turns, how you communicate, how you get your message across, how you clarify and use other communicative skill to interact. That has an impact on language teaching, for example, because when people expect to just A-B exchange, that bemes tricky in real life because we don't communicate like that.
Yes.
We interrupt, we talk over each other.
As you're demonstrating,
like we are demonstrating right now, we're modeling this. and
Right.
there's false starts and other things,
Yes.
that we have to be mindful of.
Yes,
But
those that turn taking, managing the conversation, absolutely.
And when it comes to a neurological point of view, when you are interacting face to face, our mirror neurons are triggered. Mirror neurons are our brain cells which make us absorb the emotions, behavior, and thoughts of other people. And that is, those are triggered when we have face-to-face communication. And that's what triggers empathy as well. So if I am with a friend who's just lost her job and is upset and disappointed and crying, my mirror neurons would be triggered, and I'd absorb that, her disappointment, her
Yes.
anxiety, and that creates empathy.
Yes.
And that goes missing when it comes to online digital communication.
Yes. Because I notice we're mirroring each other quite a bit here as well.
Yes.
We're out with our hand gestures.
Yes.
For children, it's such a crucial part of the child's development, because there's been research that's been, long time ago. I'm talking 60s, 70s, when researchers started actually investigate what is about the relationship, what about the attachment that makes us so, that helps us grow and develop and become who we are. And what's fascinating is, take development psychology, for example. Young children absolutely need the mirrored expression. Mothers do that, fathers as well. Significant caregivers do that very intuitively. When the baby is upset, we tend to naturally say, "Oh, you're upset.
Yes.
Oh, you're happy." Yeah. So it's so crucial for the normal development of a child to get that expressions mirrored to them, because it's a crucial part of the emotional development.
Right. Yes. So we talked a bit about their independence as interacting with the world, but even as learners, they have stronger sense of independence. But is there a sense in that they have stronger awareness of social issues and the global issues than perhaps previous generations?
Yes, I think so. I think so. Such students are, and it's a well-known fact that there's a lot of young students worry about the climate change, the global issues. It becomes something they talk about, and is something that is of interest to them.
Yeah.
So I can agree with that.
So this kind of, as you say, almost on a micro level of communication can be difficult, that empathy part, but on a global scale, actually more connected and more empathy.
They're a values-driven generation.
Right.
Since, with a click of a button, they have all, the whole world in front of them. They can see all the issues going on around the world. So then the empathy, is channeled towards the global issues.
Right. That's so interesting.
I think I agree with Eric in terms of, it's a value-driven generation. What we mean by that is that because they are exposed to such random bits of information all the time, they eventually channel it, because of the personalized content, because of the algorithms. They work out for themselves what interests them, and they go down the path that applies to them and applies to their values as well. Again, the young learners, the values are still developing, obviously, but what's interesting is that I think they're sensitive to the global issues as well, because they see the world as a whole.
Yes.
It's connected.
Before, when we were much younger, values were coming from home together with school.
In the first place.
Yes. But now it's mixed. Home, school, and, technology.
And of course, that is one of the difficult parts of this. You mentioned algorithms, and we know that what they are exposed to is not random. It is partly driven by algorithms. You start showing
We see it as random.
That's right. That's
we
right.
might see that as right.
We think it's random. We think we're seeing the world as it is, but actually we've shown an interest in something, and so more of that gets fed to us. And
creating those echo chambers.
Exactly. That's right.
That can really distort the
and that's why we need to educate our students on ethics of AI and modern technologies.
Yeah.
I think it's a very, very important topic to pass on to our students, the ethics of AI and modern technologies, and to decipher fake news from real news.
Yes.
That's what we need to teach. Or when they're looking up, when they're using AI doesn't give you all the correct information. So let's teach our students what to decipher, what's the correct information from the incorrect through, this AI information.
Absolutely. And I think that links to something you said in the first episode about not necessarily making such a clear distinction between reality and alternative worlds, created immersive worlds which are not reality. So moving between those quite easily in a way that I would feel uncomfortable. To me, it has to be clear what's reality and what's not. But this does create a challenge in terms of that critical thinking, what is true and what's not true.
Yes.
And for example, AI videos, generated videos, gain millions and millions of views to the point that it's difficult for a grown-up to distinguish between fact and reality, fact and fake, which is fascinating in itself. How you just can't do that anymore.
Even news platforms, for example, for us adults, it's is this real? Is it twisted?
Yes.
So just imagine students who have everything at hand and is fast flow of information.
It's very difficult.
So I think we need to focus on teaching them the ethics and the deciphering.
Yes, the AI literacy.
I think that's a skill that students need to learn. Hi, I'm Dr. Erika Galia. If you're curious about how Generation Alpha learns and how we can teach them more effectively, I'd love for you to check out the book Olga Saya and I co-wrote. We take a deep dive into the neuroscience behind how this generation processes information, builds focus, and engages with the world. You will find practical strategies designed to help you connect with Generation Alpha learners in meaningful ways. It's a resource for every teacher who wants to understand not just what to teach, but how these young minds learn best. Enjoy the read. See the link in the description for more information.
So you're talking about the classroom again, coming back to perhaps the more micro level and that interaction between people. And we were talking about a number of reasons why that can be difficult for students who are developing their interactive skills on phones. Not completely, but it's a stronger influence. So as a teacher, and you're trying to get your students to work together, to learn together in the classroom, in a live space, I mean, that's obviously a challenge for a lot of teachers. Are there things that they can do which would help them with that challenge?
Well, in terms of learning English as a foreign language, for example, the first thing I was thinking about is that we previously used to assume that students can communicate certain things in the L1, the first language, and what all we need to do is just to teach them the language so that they can do it in the second language, in English as a foreign language. But now I think this assumption is not working anymore. So we, instead of just assuming they can do it, we'll probably have to model it. Probably we'll have to teach them explicitly how to ask questions in interaction, how to politely interrupt, how to do other things. And the teacher becomes that model, not necessarily a teacher or whatever
teaching support.
You're using
yeah.
videos, audio and
Yeah,
stuff. So I think modeling becomes a big thing. So we can't really assume that they can do it in the first place. And also I think we can teach the students naturally interact when it's relevant and personalized to them. What I mean is asking questions in itself is a meaningless task, but asking questions to get something out of it, to achieve a task, becomes meaningful for them. We were actually having a joke previously before the podcast recording. Is like the first question we asked entering this space is, what's the Wi-Fi password?
Yes.
So we don't ask people, we don't say, what's your name? Where are you from? And so on. We ask, what is the Wi-Fi password? What's the Wi-Fi code?
Yes.
How can you spell it for me? So that is fascinating.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but
real information gaps, I suppose.
Information gaps, exactly. It could be a micro information gap just to get the Wi-Fi password, or it could be a multi-stage information gap to achieve a bigger aim, a bigger task, such as creating a post or creating some sort of, I don't know, putting up a cupcake stall for the other classrooms and things like that. So we can vary those things. But
so much more task-based.
Task-based,
I think the teacher the educator needs to move from a content deliverer to a mediator of mean-making. So we need to... let me explain simpler terms. The educator needs to present the meaning behind what they're presenting in the classroom, because they need to make it as a narrative. What they're presenting, they need to present it in a form of a narrative, form of a story, because that's what Gen Alpha are used to through their gadgets. Everything is a story through their gadgets. So in the classroom, the teacher needs to present not in silos separately, but as everything as interconnected, as a narrative, as a story.
Right.
To engage the students.
Right. Yeah. And so that the why of everything is much more important than it has been. I love that idea of creating a narrative for your lesson.
And to link it to what we talked previously about, that actually for these students, learning doesn't end with a lesson. It extends beyond a lesson. It continues at home and stuff. A lot of the work they can do can be asynchronous, where they can upload their findings from home to the collaborative board, for example, thus creating this ongoing learning and thinking about things outside of the lesson, outside of the classroom. So that's
not disconnected, school and
so
home.
it's part of the communication as well.
Transitions.
Because, for example, even when they do, even when they say upload their content, upload their piece of work to, say, asynchronously to the collaborative board, they can comment on other people's work from home, actually.
Right.
And they can actually see what other people have been busy doing in real life from home. So the point I'm making is that teaching how to socialize, how to interact, of course it's so valuable when we do it face-to-face in class. This is golden time where we can actually make use of it. But at the same time, we can support this by encouraging our students to continue their work from home as well.
And almost exploiting that positive element of them taking control almost of the pacing of their learning.
Exactly,
To become more personalised.
Yeah.
Because that's what Gen Alpha are used to.
Yes.
Even through games, everything is personalised.
Right.
So they would be expecting, it's very, very difficult within the classroom to personalise. Once you have a whole classroom, it's very difficult to personalize for each individual. But if technology comes in as a tool, as one of the tools, it could happen. That learning could be personalized for each student.
And one of the things that came through in what you were talking about there was content generation, content development.
Yeah.
And this is productive skills from a language teaching point of view, but it feels like this is, if there's one thing that engages Generation Alpha, it is producing content.
Yeah.
And they see people their same age as them on YouTube, TikTok, etc., producing content. That content production seems to be the key.
Exactly. It's one of their aspirations is to become a YouTuber, is become a content creator.
Yeah.
Well, they create memes as well. They create those little, that language of communication. One of the fascinating things, I think everybody watched Adolescents, right? They're all older, obviously, older children and stuff. But when you really explore that subculture of communication behind the emoji, the meaning behind the emojis, is actually there's the whole world that is hidden from grown-ups quite often, is what the emojis mean, what those little memes mean.
Yes.
And actually, when I looked at memes that these children are using, which is so sweet, I think, the memes I used to use, they're still trendy, which is, it kind of gave me this little feeling of connectedness.
Yes.
Because they still find it fascinating. They still find it usable.
Right.
They still use and reuse the, say, Gen Z, the memes and stuff. So they love 1980s music. Isn't that fascinating?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have all this content, through their gadgets. And that is why we need to, in class, use the content to teach skill. So we have the syllabus, our learning outcomes, but we need to focus on using that content to teach skills in the classroom.
Right.
Because by the time children leave school, content will be obsolete. Because the constant flow of information being updated is at a very, very fast rate.
Right.
And the content is at the fingertips through technology. So
that's true.
We need to teach them, for example, one of my favorite topics, as you noticed, is the regulation of emotions through our teaching.
Right. Can I ask a little bit more what you
Yes.
mean by that, the regulation of emotions through teaching?
For example, if we're talking about climate change, for example, so everyone start a debate in the classroom about climate change, and emotions come into this very hot topic of climate change, or for example, war,
Yes.
and then the teacher would get in topic of emotions, for example. How are you feeling about talking about this topic? How do you feel about seeing this happening on the other side of the world? And start getting in the topic of emotion and emotion regulation. There's also the skill of conflict resolution as well.
Right.
I could just add to this element of emotional regulation in the classroom. What I find fascinating is the use of memes. Across generations anyway, but the phenomenon of a meme is to express a shared emotion. It's like, this is my face when it's relatable.
Yes.
So what basically happens when learners, for example, find a meme that reflects, how they feel today or how they feel about the upcoming exams, for example, that kind of reflects the shared experience within the group, across the generation.
Right.
That
that's
gives
true.
this sense of connection, that sense of shared and recognized emotion. So we're
Right.
talking the shared emotion across a lot of people.
Right. Right. How interesting. And there's also this multimodal aspect to communication, in the sense of the visual and the words combining, which I think is a key aspect of communication for Generation Alpha.
Yes, in fact, this generation, since they have so many different ways of learning, would prefer it in a multimodal way. So you'd present the same information through different ways. For example, teaching a grammar concept through a video, through a text, even through role play, for example.
Right.
So it's different ways of, putting it in context in a role play, for example.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
two different ways of learning.
Right. So this has been really fascinating, thinking about that social side of the experience and the ability to communicate and to learn for Generation Alpha. Thank you so much.